Hey, I'm Mike Myers, and this is the Songwriting for Guitar podcast, which is geared to support songwriters and producers to gain confidence and turn pro. I bring on industry experts to help you improve and monetize your skills, engage better in the writing process, and build healthy habits to create a sustainable career that you love. Caffeinated, inspirational, conversational. Hey, what's up, friends? Mike Myers here with the Songwriting for Guitar podcast, episode 121, Co-Writing, Why You Need It. Now, this probably isn't the only podcast episode that we've done on co-writing. We've probably done a couple of these, and also, too, when we have guests in, regardless, producer, songwriters, co-writing naturally comes up, and people talk about the benefits. The reason I want to have one episode, just me, and we're going to talk about co-writing and why this matters, is I see it still in beginning songwriters, even songwriters that have been doing this for a while, the resistance, the hesitation to be open to the idea of collaborating with someone. And they always see it as something that is going to take away from their unique voice, what they're going to create. And I want to shift that perspective right now. I want to change it to how this can benefit you long term. Because every single songwriter, regardless of their skill and ability, if they're a lyrics person, melody person, music person, we all have blind spots. I have tons of blind spots in which I cannot see things when I'm writing. But when you co-write, the more that you have, especially if they have a strength that you just don't possess, or it's just not the thing that you're crazy about. I could care, and I mean this, I know a lot of lyricists are probably going to shudder when I say this. I don't really care about lyrics. I really don't care about the words. I really do not care about what you're going to say. I realize that it's important. And I will also say I just don't care. It's just not the thing that I'm really interested in. I do care, however, about your melodies. I do care, however, about the chord transitions and how we're going to structure it. So I care deeply about that. So the lyrics side is a huge blind spot for me. And so if I can have someone who focuses solely on that, and that's their main thing that they're constantly watching while I'm watching the other stuff, guess what? Not only are we going to get a stronger song, I'm going to get a song way quicker, and I can probably grow my catalog of songs way quicker. Because every time I sit down to write with someone, it's not just a one-off. I never see it as just like, we're going to do this, just one song. I see it as we're establishing something. We could build something in which we're going to be writing a whole bunch again and again and again, which means my catalog's going to grow. Their catalog's going to grow. Also, too, my skill set is going to grow because I'll be watching them in their zone of genius. I'm going to be watching them do the thing that they do really well. They're going to be watching me do the thing really well. So naturally, we are going to grow as songwriters, and that pours into all other aspects. Accountability is the other thing that I love. Because it's one thing if I say, oh, I'm going to write a song and get it done. That's one thing. But if I say that in front of one or two other people, suddenly I'm now held accountable because it's no longer am I just, holding myself accountable. And sometimes we're good with that. Sometimes we're not. We're lax. We go, I got enough. I'll come back to it later. But when you have one or two other people that have carved out time to be there, to write the thing, there's a deadline that's put on there. And so you can feel like, too, with the energy, you have to keep it going. You can't let it die out or hope that next time you can pop back on a call or go back in person and maybe we'll pick up where we left off. You can't predict that energy is going to be the same. So there is an awesome thing about the accountability of that deadline. It's kind of an industry truth. If we look at the majority of songs that are doing well, whether it be in radio and, for artistry or when it comes to music licensing, the majority are all co-writes. Very rarely are there solo writes. And I think maybe this is where I also kind of I have an eye roll because usually when I mention this, a songwriter will mention like an anomaly. Like they'll go like, well, what about so-and-so? And what about so-and-so? yes, we could look for those gems, those people in which it kind of happened to work for them, where they were able to do everything themselves. But that is such a rare thing. Is it possible one of those might exist right now? Maybe. Is it a little ridiculous for me to think that I'm the exception? Absolutely. I'm not the exception. I need all the help in the world. We all need help. So I think it's an industry truth we have to accept. And the sooner we accept it, the sooner we can start finding our who's, essentially, those that are going to make up for that skill that we just don't have. I co-write all the time. When I decided to, okay, I want to take songwriting way more seriously, I thought I had co-written. I was just in a band, and it really wasn't co-writing. A lot of the times, either I brought it or the other singer brought, like, the full idea, or even our keyboardist would bring something in, pretty much the full idea, the chord structure, a whole thing. And we kind of wrote some stuff. I remember one time we tried to write a song together, all in the same room, and it was the longest. It was insane just how painful it was. That's not co-writing. And so when I made the decision to, like, okay, I want to jump into this, they talk about co-writing, I just accepted it. And I started doing a lot, like 4 or 5 times a week. I was co-writing all the time. These songs too weren't produced, I should say. I want to make that clear, because I knew the wheels were turning, and most likely the first 40, 50 songs I was going to get out were going to be not amazing. They were going to be okay, but not to the level where they could now worth the time refining. I just needed to get the flow going. To me now, when I think of some of the most fruitful relationships that I have, the songs that have done really well too, in terms of what I measure is, like, they get used in TV and film and I get money from that. They've come from very solid co-writing relationships I've established. And I have these little networks of, like, it's, oh, so and so and so and so, we write all the time. We write here. They've now unlocked my best songs, and my best skills have been developed because I watched them do something that made my brain go, like, I don't do that at all. I'm going to do that in the next 20 songs. So the benefits are huge. And so this is a challenge, I feel. If you go, like, well, I've co-written before and it didn't work out, and you can only name 2 instances where you co-wrote or you were in a band setting, I would challenge you that's, if you've just done 1 or 2, you're just at the beginning. So don't judge those. You have to slowly get in and build a system so that by 40, 50 songs in of co-writing, you can then start to assess. Just as if you were in a band, you co-wrote, I guarantee it was probably the same as mine. That's not co-writing. You need to have 1 or 2 other people, including yourself, in a small setting, and you have very different skill sets. So that way it's all moving forward, and you're not all melody people and the lyrics are getting left behind, or you're all lyric people and the melody's getting left behind. The benefits of what you can't get by yourself. And the first one, obviously, is the sharpening the skills. Like, again, we can look for those anomalies, but it's not possible. I think of all the tips that I've picked up when I've written with Maddie Finn, they're so good at melody. They're so good too at just, like, laying down harmonies. I think of Tabitha Meese. I've written a bunch with her, and she is so good at layers. Working on 2 songs right now, and one of them, Gracie Moses, she's the same thing. She is just, like, artfully comes up with these amazing melodies and layers and harmonies and tweaks. Amalia Fleming, that's another one I've been working. She's also really good. So it's like I'm watching all these phenomenal singers truly just architect great melodies. And I'm pretty darn good at melody. I can suggest things, but they're extremely good at melody. What I can give them is great structure and framework, chord wise, dynamic wise, production wise, to set up the song super strong. Um, Nell Maynard, that's another one I think of. I've watched lyrically. Judy Stakey, who I talk about, watching her uh, explain lyrics and explain the reasonings behind why we're going to do this, why we're going to do that, is like, that makes my mind go, like, wow, that's real. I didn't think that. So essentially it's always opening me up to another view of the thing that I may not be strong in, or the thing that I think I'm really good in, melody, I get a whole different perspective and new skill set because I'm just watching them. The other thing is their network becomes your network. We talk about, the song is just the first step. A finished song is just the first step. Even if you get it produced, that's great. So what? Lots of people get songs produced. It has to go somewhere. And so that's where the networking and building that strong team. And when there's you and just you can only do so much on your own. I can only network so much. I can only reach out so much. But when I collaborate with them, their contacts become my contacts become their contacts. And suddenly your ability and your reach just gets wider and wider and wider. And that to me is something that gets overlooked a ton. And the speed and the volume in which I can create and get out there through co-writing is much more than if I was trying to do everything on my own. I couldn't paint vocally with the colors and the textures that I get from these top liners that I work with. I would have to hire so many other people, and then I'd have to take time to craft the melody and record the melody to give them an idea. There's so much more work that I would have to do that I wouldn't even have half the amount of songs that I do now. I'd also be like, I'd be broke because I'd be spending so much money on hiring people again and again and again and again. The creative push that you get from a collaborator is when you start to establish a good writing relationship, they push you. They will fucking challenge your line of ideas in a good way. And that's what I think is great, because then they know that you have this ability and this skill that when you give something, they're like, that's not bad, but I think you have better. I always go back to Maddie Finn. They're always good at like, it's okay. We can do better. We can challenge, we can push past that idea. It's okay. It's not bad, but I think we've got something better. That's a little cheesy, or that's a little predictable. And so I love that. I don't want someone that just goes, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, the challenging is great. And what's beautiful is that there's also an affirmation too. So I've talked about how they'll challenge, but a lot of the times we get stuck in our own head, like, is this good? And co-writers will be like, what did you just do? And at first you think like it was a bad thing. Oh no, what did I do? And you think, oh, I didn't mean to do that. And they go, no, that was amazing. And you go, oh, like I can't tell you the amount of voice memos that I have on my phone of those moments where, I always have a voice memo going as we're writing the song just to catch anything, because sometimes things happen very quickly. And if I go, ooh, what was that? We'll go back. Or if they go, ooh, what was that? We'll go back and listen, because good co-writers also affirm and validate when you're doing something amazing. And meanwhile, you think it's just the most mundane, I do this all the time. No, they also validate when things are really, really good. There's a few, and I'm sure we'll put those in the description. There was 2 episodes I think I did a while ago on like how co-write should go, like hour 1, hour 2. But here's some great do's and don'ts of co-writing that I've discovered over the hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. I would say possibly in the 1,000 mark of co-writing that I've done these past 10 years. And so the first one's, it seems so silly, but come prepared. I can't believe I'm saying this. Come prepared. Come with ideas. If you say you're a great top liner, have some melodies. Have some melodies. If you're a great lyricist, have some great titles. Have your Google Doc of titles. It sounds so silly, but just come prepared. Have some ideas. Have something that you can share, because time is of the essence when you start a co-write. And if you go like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Well, what do you, that will shoot your momentum so quickly. So just come prepared. Listen and adapt. You may have an agenda, but when I'm working with an artist and I hear them talk about something, and a great example of this, I was working with an artist that had a lot of pop punk stuff out. So I had like my bucket of pop punk ideas. And literally the first, couple sentences out of her mouth were, I'm just really tired of the pop punk stuff I've been doing. I was like, well, okay, well, let's take this bucket. And I was just like, let's just hide it and push it away. I didn't try to force her to do more of this just because I had it. I was able to listen. And sometimes it's an obvious one like that. And sometimes it's not obvious. It's a subtle thing. And what I mean is it's a subtle thing that they may just need to talk out with you, not necessarily in a therapy session, but it's just like be prepared to entertain their idea and ask some questions. Listen, ask some questions if you're not sure, because that might be more fruitful than the thing that you have. So it's not saying don't come prepared, but don't be afraid to also push it to the side. I have many a times that I had prepared, didn't use it, so I just moved it and I'm like, hey, I got that there for whenever I need it. That's great. What they're talking about and what they're saying is much more important than me trying to force any agenda. Know your role. When I hear about people complaining about co-write that doesn't work, that's awful, the more I talk to them and the more I get some sort of like, oh, this is what happened. They didn't really talk about who was doing what. You know, if you think of, I'm a sucker for Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay, my wife, I feel like there was a period, maybe it was during the pandemic, we watched so many of those. We binged like the whole, all the old seasons, all the new seasons. But what I found in Hell's Kitchen was when things went awry, it's because there was no clear established roles. So the order formation of how things were formed, people weren't sure who was doing what and doing this. Someone was trying to do everything because they were a perfectionist. So when you have a co-write, you have to have established roles. Who is going to be the top liner? Who's going to be in charge of, you know, lyrics and melody? Who's going to be in charge of the music side of it? Are we having an artist here that you're going to be helping write? Or are you just having someone that is more in charge of lyrics, one doing melody and one doing chords? Is one doing chords and melody and lyrics? Talk about it in advance. Talk about the roles and who's going to do what. It's not saying that you can't overlap on each other and, suggest if you're just doing melody. Of course, you can suggest like some lyric ideas. Of course, if you're doing lyrics, you can suggest some melody ideas. It's more or less you're just keeping watch and making sure that as the lyrics are growing, the melody is growing with it, that all the parts are growing at the same time, and that we're not having just the lyrics develop, but we have no idea what the melody is, or just the melody, but we have no idea what the lyrics are. What's beautiful is you can have people focusing on their roles. The other thing that I want to say is I think a great thing is having this ready. Don't necessarily steamroll or hog the spotlight. Don't be afraid to check in with everyone. Because the one thing you never want is silence to creep in a co-write. I always love checking in. How are you feeling about this? Are you feeling excited? Because nothing's worse than you spend an hour and nobody's asked, and two of you are unsure and not really thrilled with the direction. The sooner you check in, the sooner you can correct the course that you're headed on. The sooner you can just check in if they're like, yeah, I like where it's going, but I'm concerned about this. Oh, okay, cool. Let's talk about it. Let's see, what can we do? It's now suddenly like, oh, addressing the concern, being aware of it, and not feeling so shocked and like taken aback when someone goes, I just wasn't crazy about it. So if you can do that, engage consistently, I think that will always, always help your co-write. This definitely is an important thing, which is leave the ego at home. I think that's everything when it comes to success in music. Leaving your ego at home is very important, because the best ideas don't always win, and it's not about winning. Sometimes there are ideas that are going to resonate more than your idea. And sometimes the things that you think are the best things may not go and may not fly. Sometimes in a co-write, you may give at least 70% of the bulk of the co-write. And other times you may give less than 5%. I don't know because I don't keep track. It's not a score of who's greater and who's less than, who's better, who's worse. It's about working together as a team. And as a team, you just win collectively. We're not worried about, oh, it didn't, XYZ, XYZ. None of that shit matters. It's about doing it together. I've had people say bummed out when they do co-writes and they go like, well, I didn't do that much. I'm worried. And it's like, no, as a co-write, no one's keeping score. It doesn't matter. I can name you lots where I gave a ton, and there are other times where I felt depleted and I didn't have that many ideas, but the song still was great. I don't view co-writing as oh, that's a neat little option. To me, if you want to have success in songwriting, you have to accept that as a norm. You just have to make that like that is what we're going after and that's what we're going to do, period. That is part of my process. I'm not going to resist it. And if you have co-written before and you're resistant to the idea, I guarantee some of the things that I mentioned on what not to do probably creeped up. Probably some of the conversations before co-write, you weren't sure. It was just kind of a mishmash, or maybe it was the band setting like mine, and you were like, ugh, I don't want to do that again. But realize that if you truly want momentum in songwriting, if you want to have an advantage, if you want to have more songs, build a library much faster than you currently are, co-writing is it, period. It's just a fact. And that's why I love what we do here at Songwriting for Guitar when it comes to our coaching program. Our coaches all co-write, are producing in co-writing settings, are doing top lining in co-writing settings, are absolutely 100% behind co-writing. And that's why if you're listening to this and you don't have a songwriting coach, you don't have someone that's holding you accountable, helping you develop your skill and helping you connect with others that have those opposing skills, you need a coach. You will be much more successful if you have a guide and a mentor helping you along the way. So if in this description, click the link below to fill out a coaching application form so you can hop on a call with me. We'll match you with the coach that fits your needs and your goals. Or if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's in the description too. Go ahead. I 100% believe that not only will co-writing and coaching help you get there faster, I think you're going to be happier with the results. 110%. I'd go 120%. So click that description somewhere and book a time to meet with me so we can match you with the right coach so you can start sharpening your skills, finding out others who you need to start writing with so that you can build your library faster and get those goals, those things that you know you're capable of so that they actually happen. And so you stop thinking about it and you're doing it. All right, friends. Thank you so much for listening, watching this episode. Remember, these episodes too are in video form on YouTube. So if you're listening to our podcast, just go to our YouTube page. It's linked in the description. You can just scroll below and make sure you subscribe. All right, friends. Until next time, I'm Mike Myers. Thanks.